Continuing now with the Dvar Malchut. Okay, what are we talking about now? We're talking about how the Jews are compared to the moon, and more exactly, Moshiach is compared to the moon. And more exactly, Mashiach is compared to the new moon. What's the new moon? The first sliver of the moon. The Jews are compared to the first sliver of the moon. The Jews count according to the moon, right? The Jewish months go according to the moon. When there's the moon disappears from the sky, that's the sign that it's the end of one month. And when the first sliver occurs of the moon, that's a new month. It says that's called the new moon. So it says Mashiach is going to be like the new moon. The Jewish people are like the new moon. New moon. So the Rebbe asked the question, that seems to be inappropriate. The height of Judaism was when, in the days of King Solomon and King David. Then it says the moon, says Sihara b'shleimuta. It says that the moon was full. What's the idea of the moon? It comes to illuminate the night. That's the job of the Jews. The job of the Jews is to illuminate the darkness of this world. In the days of King Solomon and King David, when the temple was built, King David prepared for the temple. So then all of the Jews were living in Israel. King Solomon was recognized and advertised in the whole world. Everyone knew he was the smartest person. You have a problem, go to King Solomon. Solomon will answer all your problems. And he did. And he was very famous and he was very well known. And there was peace in the whole world. In the whole world, there was peace and prosperity. Right? No one wanted to do destructive things or self-destructive things. King Solomon, with the spirit of King David, they ruled over. That's the Jewish people should be compared to the full moon. So the Rebbe even more. When the third temple is going to be built, then it's really going to be a full moon. It says that the light of the moon will be the light of the sun. They'll be equal. Like before, God made lessened the light of the moon. It says on the fourth day, God created the sun and the moon equal. And then for whatever reason it is, he made the moon less. He let the moon less. So it says, in the days of King Solomon and King David, the moon was full. The Jewish people compared to a full moon. But that's nothing compared to the days of the full moon of Mashiach. Full moon. If so, says the Rebbe, why do we say that the Jewish people are compared, the Mashiach and the Jewish people are compared to the new moon when there's just a sliver of the moon? The Jewish people are going to be renewed like the moon. Renewed. So if so, the Jewish people and Mashiach and the future redemption, that's compared to just the first sliver of the moon. I said the Rebbe, what's the message there? I mean, the Jewish people should be compared to the full moon. So the Rebbe said yesterday that if you look at it, what's the full moon? The full moon has a tremendous effect on the world. It's really good, lights up the darkness. That's really the whole purpose of it, how it shines. It says, but sometimes what the moon does can make us lose sight on what the moon is. What the moon does, it illuminates the night. In the future, when Mashiach comes, the moon, the Jewish people will illuminate the whole world. That's what they'll do. But what about what the Jewish people are? What they are. Without doing anything. What they are. Says the Rebbe, let's make a comparison, like a little baby when he's born, and a person when he's already mature and healthy and successful and productive. So a baby, when he's born, he's basically worthless. He can't talk. He can't contribute anything. He needs everything. Right? On his own, he can't even eat. He can't protect himself. A baby, what good is a baby? Huh? I mean, it's almost the same thing as a fetus. Fetus. Now there are places in America that say even as soon as the baby is born, if the mother wants to terminate, she can terminate, within a couple of hours. I don't know what crazy things they got over there, but the fact they got a good point. A fetus, what's he worth? Worth nothing. A baby, as soon as he's born, what do you need him for? Right? It just makes trouble. He just always needs attention. He's always crying. He's always has to eat. You have to clean him up, and he makes noise, and he says, who needs it? When a person is older, then of course you can't kill him. Then you can't kill a person. He's worth something. Says the Rebbe, you got the whole thing wrong. The whole thing is wrong. The most important moment in a person's life is the second that he's born. The second that a person is born. Without that, you haven't got any of the things that follow. His successes, his intelligence, his accomplishments, that all depends on that first second. Even though that first second doesn't have any qualities to it, but it has the quality of existence. Says the Rebbe the same thing. Appreciating God. Who appreciates God? Who appreciates God? Big tzaddikim, right? The Moses appreciates God. King David. Those are people who really appreciate God. Now we have these tzaddikim. They write books about, the Arizal, the Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai. That's really humanity. That's really a man. Says the Rebbe, yeah, but that's what a person can do. That's what a person can accomplish. But what about the person himself? What about pure existence? There's a child, a small child that doesn't know anything about Kabbalah, and it doesn't know, a Jewish child, doesn't know anything about Kabbalah, doesn't know anything. But if he's told, listen, there's God that creates the world, he says, oh yeah, God, he prays to God. When he prays to God, he prays in some ways more genuinely than Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai or the Arizal or even Moses. Unless the Arizal and Moses and the Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, unless they adopt the attitude of a little child. That's why it says Moses was the most humble person in the world. It says about Moshiach, he'll be humble. What do you mean humble? I'm like a little baby. Everything I have is just a gift from God. That's who I am. Who am I? I don't know. It's just the whole thing is just a big gift from God, right? Therefore, when he gives thanks to God, he's giving thanks to God that he knows God is not in the category of understanding. It's not what God does, it's what God is. Matsui, just the fact that God exists, and I don't know what it even means. All I know that if God didn't exist, I wouldn't exist. There wouldn't be any world. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I exist. I don't know what it means I don't know what it means that I'm alive. What does it mean to be alive? Where does consciousness come from? Where does it come from? So it says a little child, he can live with this. That's his whole being. His whole being is, that's okay. Who says you have to understand? An older person says, listen, I have understanding. I have to use my understanding properly. How? According to what God wants. What is God? The baby knows. The child knows. He knows what God is. Mainly what? We don't know. Says that's the whole idea. The difference between a child and a mature person is existence, how a person attaches himself to God. Eitzel Gadol B'Yisrael, by a person who is, let's say, a mature genius among the Jews, he knows and he understands the greatness of God. Why? Al Yadei Shlilot Kol Dargot HaTorim, by means of the negation of any description of God. We say when we say God is wise, we mean that he's wise, but not like the wisdom we have here. Not in any sort of a normal way. When we say that God exists, we say God exists, but not in any way that we can understand what existence is. In other words, any term that you can use to describe God, what you're really doing is negating any normal understanding of that. God is wise, but not like my wisdom. God is kind, but not like my kindness. Not like any kindness we can possibly understand. Here, God is kind. He enlivens all these little bugs, right? Billions and billions of bugs that are in the Amazon the jungles, whatever it is, and God enlivens each and every one of them from pure kindness. Does that make any sense to you? Doesn't why would God enliven all these bugs, right? Why would he do it? From what? Just from pure goodness. That's not any goodness we can understand. And that's just a little cheap example. God enlivens all the angels, all the stars, all of this. And that's also a cheap example, right? God, the kindness of God is even saying that it's infinite is also limiting God. It's infinite. It means that it's bigger than anything I know. So it's relevant to what I know. It's not so. The goodness of God is completely incomprehensible, but nevertheless, God is good. God is the source of all good. So if so, when the biggest genius that learns Kabbalah, knows all the Kabbalah, the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, the Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the biggest, holiest geniuses in the world, their description of God is just saying that God is not our type of kindness. He's not our type of wisdom. He's not shlilat havana. This is negating any sort of understanding what God is. Ad shliat mitziato. Let's put it in another way. The main essence of Judaism is faith. Faith. We don't understand what God is. To the degree of koach masirut nefesh, that we're willing to give our lives for God. God is not an idea. He's not an incomprehensible idea. He is an infinitely real reality that we have absolutely no idea how real God is. That's called bittul b'metziut. We are willing, the fact of the matter is we are willing to surrender our whole being to God, because that's the fact. The fact is our whole being is already just a big gift from God constantly. When the biggest wise man of the world understands, so what is he doing? He's moser nafsho ratzono. He's giving his life for God because he understands that God is not understandable, which is not a case of child. By a child, he gets not any lights of God, he gets the source of light, me'or, the source of light, the illuminator is revealed. This is above any understanding. All he knows is that God is. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't have to remove his mind from any sort of ideas of what God is. Shagam yediazu, this is not by a child. And the whole essence of a child is that it's obvious to him that God exists. And it's obvious to him that God is not a thing that you can understand. It's not a thing. Nikra Dvar is infinitely, infinitely, infinitely real. That's what a child feels. With a child, every detail, how he eats, how he sleeps, etc. And teach, of course, you have to have education. A child naturally, he doesn't know how to express this if he has any education. So a child who says blessings is no problem. Of course, listen, there is, Freud and all these people, they were like experts at reducing everything. Don't fool yourself. It's not really real. Don't get excited. And cooling everything off, right? By Western understanding, especially led by Freud and all these other people, there's nothing is genuine. By them, nothing is genuine. Viktor Frankl points this out. Nothing is genuine. Everything is for some ulterior motive. You're doing it for yourself somehow or other. Okay, this is a very crooked and sick way of looking at the world, but it certainly is, the popular way of looking at the world. Everything you do is for yourself, somehow or other. So also the thing with little children, they say to God, they were taught to do this. Their parents taught them. They're doing like. Of course you can. Nothing is genuine. There's no genuine love. You don't really love someone. You do it for yourself, right? That's the crooked way of looking at the world. That's what we finished learning. That's what's called klippa, selfishness. Selfishness. But a child feels no, it's not so. That God is creating everyone, and God is infinitely good, and God is infinitely real. And how God is creating it is just a big miracle. By a little child, everything is miracles. Or in a way of sort of chassidut, by a mature person. That's like the sliver of the moon. That's like the first sliver. By a big genius, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, is revealed his connection to God mainly because of the revelations of God, the aspects of God, and not so much the essence of God. A mature person can't be like a child all the time, right? You have to use your intellect so he understands, and therefore he can come to understand aspects of God, and it's really exciting. It's really amazing. Listen, most of the religions in the world, they worship aspects of God, an angel, something like that, which is, these things are worthy of worship. They're infinitely more real than we are. It says that if a person sees one angel, he would freak out. One angel, it says, destroyed a whole big metropolis of Sodom and Gomorrah, the whole place. Right? One angel, Pete. Right? An angel is worthy of our worship. To pray to angels, of course. The Torah says it's forbidden. Why is it forbidden? Because the angels are just creations. Creations. So don't get too excited about the aspects of God. Although you are supposed to get excited because the aspects of God, that's called Jacob's ladder. It's a ladder to approach how great God is. You know how great an angel is? No, angels are this, the angels are that. Ooh, angels are so amazing. I'm going to start worshiping an angel. Says, one second. There you just realize that angels are real. That angels are just creations of God. There are angels which are above that. The angels of Bria are infinitely more real than the angels of Yetzirah. And then you start thinking about that. I get it now. I'm going to worship an angel of Bria. That's 2 times infinite. Ready? No, don't do it. The angels of Bria is just a stepping stone. So you'll realize that it's what you thought about worshiping before, you were wrong. There's something bigger. Something bigger. What? The angels of Atzilut. Atzilut. So it's more and more a person can realize, listen, it's possible I can be sure of something and worship something, and the thing is worthy of my worship, but I'm wrong. Because there's a higher level of existence. And finally, you get to the whole point of, no, there's a creator of this whole business, and that's not even in the category of understanding. It's too real to be understood. And this little Jewish children, they live with this constantly. It's an obvious thing to them. In the way, let's say how Chassidus explains, by an older person, he gets connected. Let's say a Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he learns Kabbalah as he gets connected and excited about aspects of God. This is according to my understanding and my grasping. In my intelligence and my emotions of my heart. Let me say, above this, you can feel the will of God, pleasure. My will senses God. My sense of pleasure senses God. Until you become connected to God, like it says, love God with all of your heart, all of your soul, all of your might. Until you even get to this level of yechida. These are different aspects of your soul. But after all of these high levels, even the level of yechida, the essence of the Jewish soul, but these are only 5 names of the soul. There are 5 names of the soul. Even yechida, which is the essence of the Jewish soul, it's just a name. Shem, a name, indicates on a definition. A tor v'gader mesuyam, some sort of a definition. Even the inner essence of the Jewish soul, which is willing to totally give its life for God, like Abraham taking his son and Yitzchak willing to be killed for God, that's the level of yechida. That's a level of the soul. Shekol Ratzona v'chefza, that its all desire is to go out of what it is and just be one with God. Right? That's levels of the soul, which is not the case by a child. A small Jewish child, his attachment to God is the essence of his soul. The essence of his soul. Above all of the 5 names which are called to the soul. Above even the level of being a portion of God, the son of God, what every Jew is. In the Talmud, in Shabbat, it tells this tragic story about Hannah and her 7 sons, that they were brought before a king. I don't remember, it was Achashverosh. No, it wasn't. And one of those kings of Greek kings. and Greek, Syrian, whatever kings, and he wanted the sons to bow down to him. And he started with the oldest one, and they all refused. Each one refused, and they all saw what happened to their brother before them. They got killed. And they all wanted to live. They were natural people. But when it came to bowing down to a person, all of them said, whatever sentences it was, that they're not going to do it. Till they got to the smallest child, 3 years old, whatever. And he said, no, I'm not going to bow down to anything else except for you. And says, an older person that he gives his life for God, he gives his life for God. So it's true, he's not doing it for himself. He doesn't care about going to heaven or whatever. But still, it's the one aspect of his soul gets revealed. But by a little child, it's not an aspect of his soul. That's his whole being, says the Rebbe. The whole being of a little child. It could be when he sees people get killed, he gets scared. He gets scared. Maybe he doesn't know what to do. But it's still at that last moment, he'll say, I can't bow down to anything else. All there is God. I can't do anything against God. Okay, what does this mean to me and you right now? Every single Jew. The beginning of a Jew, and this is what the idea of Mashiach, we're going to see. That's the idea of the birth of the moon. So when are we like little babies? When we wake up. When you wake up in the morning, first thing, wake up in the morning, mikatan ad gadol, whether you're a child, whether you're an older person, the first thing you do, wake up in the morning. What's a Jew supposed to do when he wakes up in the morning? First thing, what's he supposed to do? Before you wash your hands, you're supposed to wash your hands first thing in the morning. There's something you're supposed to do before that. There's a sentence that you're supposed to say. A sentence. And the Rebbe wanted that this should be taught in all of the schools in Israel, even in America, in the world. That everyone, when they wake up in the morning, they should say the sentence. And what is the sentence? I am surrendered, I am grateful to you, God, the living God, you gave me back my soul. Mode ani lefanecha. The word mode also means I surrender myself. I surrender myself, surrender I before you. That's a sentence we say. Looking at get by any siddur, I think that all the other siddurs it says, I don't know. And the Chabad siddurs, for sure it does. Interesting, really. I look at other siddurs and see if we do. I think you do, but it says in the Shulchan Aruch for sure that when you wake up in the morning, that's what you're supposed to say. Take it immediately, kishenir mishinato, when you wake up in the morning, before you wash your hands. Namely what? First thing, you open up your eyes. You're not even sure what it means that you're there. You open up your eyes and you say, surrendered am I to you. I know she is so avoda that the foundation of the service of a Jew for the whole rest of the day is supposed to be surrender and hoda'ah, say thanks to God. Ad kedei kach, to the degree that before you even realize who you are, you're ani, you say mode ani, grateful am I before you. You don't say I am grateful. The gratefulness, the surrender, surrendered am I before you. Before you say I, in other words, you feel you exist, yeshnu kavara bittul v'hodah, you're already surrendered, you're already grateful to God. Before you say I am grateful, you say grateful am I. You begin the day with gratitude. Shezehu a bittul v'hodah shemitzad etzem nefesh. This comes from the essence of the soul, not any level of the soul, not the level of yechida, not every. Therefore, the Rebbe said that even non-Jews should say it. When you wake up in the morning, it's a big miracle. The same God that's creating you is creating the Jews, is creating the angels, is creating. Yeshlom, we can say that this is also hinted at the word modeh. Modeh ani lefanecha, surrendered am I. Modeh is the numerical value of 55. 55. It's not hard to figure out. Mem is 40. Vav is 6 and Dalet is 4. So 6 and 4 is 10. So we have 40 and 10 is 50. And Hey is 5, 55. 55 is Nun Hey, but if you reverse the letters, same 55 is Hein. Hein means what? Yes. Yes. Hein. Romans, this hints at the essence, etzem shel Hashem, muchana mekavenet, etzem and neshama. Hein means yes, or hein means they are. Existence. Simon says, Hein am levadad yishkon. There, this is there was in the history of Judaism, and the anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is a terrible thing. Hating Jews, bad thing. Hating Jews is a bad thing. Why does God create it? I'll tell you why. There's in the Torah portion, there's a Torah portion called Balak. And Balak was an evil person, hated the Jews, wanted to destroy them. So he got the most evil, destructive person that ever existed, and his name was Bilam. And Bilam, whatever he cursed, would be cursed. He could curse nations, he could curse mountains, anything you want. When he cursed something, that was it. So he hired him to curse the Jews. Biggest anti-Semite, right? Hitler would have been jealous of this guy. And whatever is Carlson and all these other jerks, they'd be jealous of these. He hated the Jews, but he was a ish. He didn't just talk. He knew what to do. And he stood up on a mountain and he came out, okay, well, now I'm going to let it go. Ready? Hold on. Here's the curse. And all that came out of his mouth was blessings. Blessings. And the highest blessing, the biggest prophecies of Moshiach in the 5 books of Moses come from him. And one of the things he said was, Hein am levadad yishkon. They are a nation that dwells alone. Untouchable. You can't touch the Jews. They're totally different from everybody else. They're untouchable. They're pure good. That's this Hein. Hein is the same numerical value of 55. Hein, they are. Ha'etzem, this is the essence. They exist. There is such a thing. And the essence which is above all levels, above even the level of Yechida, the highest level of the soul, which is connected, the highest level of the soul, which is connected to the true unity, the essence of God. But the Jews are even above that. Like it says, Hein, L'Hashem Elokecha Shamayim V'Shamei Shamayim. It says, they are, behold, to God is the heavens and the highest heavens, everything in the world. It's a sentence. This is a sentence in, where is it? 67. In Parshas Akib. We're going to get to it. And then this is in the Deuteronomy. In Deuteronomy. Parshas Akib. The same word, Hein. What does it mean, Hein? That Hein, this shows on a level which is before the heavens and the earth, before even the names of God. Hashem, Elokeinu, all the different levels of godliness. This level of Hein is above that. It's not a level of godliness. It's pure God. That's always the question that everybody asks, if God creates the world, so who creates God? And so the answer to that question is that God is the creator. There is no other creator. It's above understanding. It's above understanding is something that's created. God is pure existence. We have absolutely no way of understanding what that is. But that same God really, really cares about each and every person. God's main essence, attention is on this world and all the people in it. That's the message of the Jews. That's the Hein. Therefore, Allah has kama. This is God is above any names. How much more so he's above the heavens and the heavens of the heavens. Why? Because all these levels, cave and sense, shagam yechida, even this level of yechida, the essence of the Jewish soul, this is just the name of the essence of the soul. And the soul itself is, so to speak, created. And it is not the essence of the soul. And therefore, tzarech lomar, we have to say, sheyesh no inyan, there must be something, there must be, how do you say, a topic, which is before even the ani lefanecha. We say, surrendered am I before you. Grateful am I. Modeh. Modeh. The modeh comes even before the ani. Grateful am I. It comes even before your I. Before yourself. This is a total surrender of the highest levels of your soul, even the level of Yechida. When it's refelt the essence of the soul, which is above any levels. This is attached to God's essence. Now, just take it to mind. We're not talking about spirituality over here. We're not talking about levels of spiritual revelation or connection. We're not talking about outside of the world. We're talking about the essence of what the world is, the creator of the world, how infinitely important this world is. It doesn't just come from an aspect of God. It comes from the essence of God. It doesn't come from the essence of God. It comes from a level of God which we can't even describe what it, what it means. What it means. It's above any sort of description or level or quality. Therefore, it says that's the idea. That's what the Jews are chosen for, to bring this to the world, to show the world how incredibly important the world is and every person in it. We can say that this is stressed especially when it says when he wakes up from his sleep. A person becomes a new creation, like a child that's born. Even before the child is recognized as anything, right? The child is born, a baby. It exists. What are the qualifications? What are the qualities of the child? I don't know. It's a male or a female. That we know. Is he smart? Is he wise? Is he handsome? What color are his eyes? Didn't even open his eyes yet. Didn't say anything. The same thing when we wake up in the morning, even before we say, Modeh, surrendered am I, that's even before just the fact of our existence. When we say, grateful am I, or surrendered am I to you, this is an expression of surrender to God in thought, speech, or even deed. You're saying something. You're coming out of it. What about before that? When a person first opens up his eyes in the morning, before he says Modeh Ani, this is even higher than that. This is the revelation of the essence of a person as a person is to himself. Lefisha Metchila is before you start anything. The second that he wakes up from his sleep. A lot of times you have people that, let's say, they were knocked out, right? They went unconscious, whatever, and they wake up. Where am I? What's going on? But the second that they wake up, they're conscious, but they don't know about who they are, where they are, what they are. It's not important. Not important. That first second is coming from 0 to 1. That's a bigger jump. From 0 to 1 is a bigger jump than from 1 to a billion, infinity. All there is just waking up, novelty. A child is born, metziut, a new existence. Before it was, now it's true that a person before he wakes up in the morning, he was asleep. A child before he's born, he was in his mother's womb. But nevertheless, that first second of consciousness is like the first second the child is born, that because he becomes that because a person before he was born, he's one with God, but it's not really revealed until he's born. The Jewish people and God are totally one. And therefore, you wake up, you reveal this essence that you were before. A baby, before he's born, is in his mother's womb. He is one with the mother. When he wakes up, he reveals this oneness. That first second, he reveals the oneness. Big miracle. Alpizeh, according to this, we can also say the same thing when a person is in a condition of waking up from your sleep. Revelation of the essence of your existence. This is the foundation for all of your service of God that comes afterwards, the whole rest of the day. Let's just take even not a Jew, a regular person, a businessman. The guy's a big businessman, but every second of his life, he's thinking, every second of the day, isn't it a miracle that I woke up this morning? Isn't it a miracle that I woke up this morning? But everything he does, he thinks, wow, I'm so grateful to God that he's creating me. If a person really thinks that, it's going to be a bit difficult for him to be an egotist. It's going to be a bit difficult for him to get angry at people, because he's always remembering that he came from nothing. I came from nothing. I'm so grateful to my source. So he's not going to be a big egotist and I want and I think. He's going to have his desires. He's going to be a person. He's a regular person. But he's always going to remember that he's not alone. He's not alone. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult to be angry, a little bit more difficult to get depressed, to feel alone, a little bit more difficult to run after his desires and his lusts. Because afterward, all he thinks, I'm a big, amazing miracle. How am I here? Of course, that's also possible to twist around, right? And say, if God creates me, I must be really important. Okay, but that's not what the point the Rebbe is trying to say. Being genuine means that a person is always aware that every second he's coming from nothing. And this should be the foundation of our service of God, to God all day. Because in fact, I'm not coming from nothing. I'm coming from the real something, from God. It's called nothing because I don't understand what it is. I can't, my little idea of what reality is, it just can't grasp what true reality is. I'll say to his lamata, this is revealed from above to below. First of all, you say in the morning, you say moda'ani. This wakes up your level of what you call yechida, the essence of the soul. After that, you say the blessings Elokei neshama. You wash your hands. You say, God, the soul that you put into me is pure. You created it. You formed it. You have to get a siddur, a Jewish prayer book, in order to see what this means. You formed it. You blew it into me. This refers to the different levels of the soul. Atzilut, Bria, right? Is Tahorahi, is pure. That's Atzilut. You created it. You formed it. You blew it into me. These are the four names of the soul. Chaya, Neshama, Ruach, Nefesh, the four names of the soul. So he wakes up in the morning, that's the essence. Then afterwards he says Modani, that's Yechida. Then afterwards he reveals the Chaya, the lower levels of the soul. And then afterwards, share all the rest of the blessings in the morning that the wise men of the Talmud said, set them according to the order of things that happen in the world. What creations do every day. And especially more when a person prays. When a person prays, we talked about the four rungs of prayer. These correspond to the four worlds of Atzilut, Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya. We go from below to above. And then we request what we need in prayer. So again, the whole point of Judaism is how important this world is to God, but not let this world become too dominant. God has to be dominant, but God has to be dominant in the world, in every detail of the world. When do we get this idea of what God is? The first second you wake up in the morning. Then you have the true awareness of what God is. Before you start to think, before you start to aware, before anything. And then you express it. And then the whole rest of the day is serving God in the same way. Now, this is talking about every single Jew, even a working man, even a person that's not intelligent, that doesn't sit and learn Torah all day, or he doesn't want to use his intelligence. This is a natural thing for every Jew. That's what the Jews are chosen for, to show how God cares about the world. And after a person goes, what says, to the place of prayer, then he goes to the place where he learns Torah a little bit, and then he goes into the world and acts in a normal way in the world. This is what makes a dwelling place for God in the world. So this is the whole idea of, let's use this, according to what we said before, now we can explain that's the whole idea of the future redemption by means of the Moshiach, and why it is like the new moon, the first sliver. It's like waking up. It's called Molad Levana. Suddenly the world wakes up to a new and an incomprehensible aspect of what God is, the true aspect of what God is. The world wakes up to it. That's what the idea of Mashiach is going to be. Waking up to true reality in this physical world, as we're going to discuss, God willing, tomorrow.